Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fintech Friday show. With me is the great and powerful Stephen Fiorillo, Roy Crossroads, and late as always, this is why we call him Late Tevis. There he is. How you doing? Can you hear me?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing well, brother. Doing well. Good to see you.
You're making his brain hurt because he's not in the right position.
Yeah, that's true.
Where do you go there?
Yeah, there you go.
All right. I like that. Tevis has his Celsius, so we're ready to go.
Stuff's so bad for you.
That's why I'm late. Thanks, Steve, for that input.
Just drink coffee.
I also got one of these. Reward myself after losing so much money today in the market.
A Ferrero Rocher.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
Yes, exactly.
I thought Steve was going to say something about my pronunciation there. What did you say? But what would you prefer to drink, Steve? Yogurt or something?
Coffee.
Coffee. A coffee. You know, coffee with a Q.
No,
Milk.
Coffee. Why are you over pronunciating? It's coffee.
You said it exactly how Tevis said it. It was identical. Little meatball sub and a coffee, and we're off. Okay, so how did you guys survive the April sell-off V2 liquidation day 2? How are you guys faring? Okay.
Yeah, I was down a little over 5% today, so it's not not fun, but it's not terrible.
I gotta check.
Some hedges paid off. After hours would be more, but we did stabilize a little bit. But these sort of days happen. They're never fun, but when you've been in the market long enough, this ruins you and you get out and you never do it again, or you learn how to handle it. And so I was like, well, I've already made my moves and I'm happy with what I have and don't have a whole lot of free funds unless I want to exit something or exit some swings. I tried to sell, by the way, before the dump. The only annoying thing is the IPOs. So Klarna IPO, it should have been 30 days today unless I've miscounted somehow. And so I was like, okay, great. I'm going to sell. And I was doing this at the open. I'm like, don't care if it's going up, down. I've held it for 30 days. I don't want to hold that company long term. And it's like, oh, you might violate the flipping rule and everything. I'm like, what in the world? I'm like, okay, I'll just wait until Monday or Tuesday. And of course it tanks. So that's mildly annoying, but it's like $700. So it's not the end of the world. It's an annoyance. But other than that, one of those days.
Yeah, I'm down almost 7%, but 6 and some change.
How are you down so much? That's crazy. I thought you and Steve would be down the least.
No, Nvidia dumped, BMNR dumped, Shopify dumped, SoFi dumped.
What did Shopify do?
Wow. Shopify closed down
7.84%.
Some way to PayPal.
Wait, is PayPal back under 70?
Yeah, it is.
So short-lived, man. Goddamn.
It was so short-lived, unfortunately.
It's the impossible to overcome. Like, honestly, if PayPal doesn't tank itself, then Trump will make sure of it. And I honestly think that's why he communicated it the way he did. He's like, oh, man, Alex Chris has done the impossible, brought it above 70%, convincingly 75, 76. Got to do something about that. Boom. Yeah.
So in all seriousness, if you look at NVIDIA, and okay, NVIDIA dumped, at one point it was at 195. Where did it close? 181 or 182, something like that? Can anybody really be that upset that's been in this for at least 3 months? 3 or 4 months ago, this was under 150. So you still have a healthy profit. And people who have been in this for over a year, they're still doing pretty well. One day does not define an entire investment. And look, I would have rather have a several week downturn that is slow and dragged out than a violent day like today and potentially some violent days next week. But we've seen in the past that dips get bought, and most people still have a very healthy profit right now.
I mean, look,
So,
Steve, Nvidia is at the same price it was at the end of July on July 31st. So you have 2 full months of opportunity cost by holding Nvidia here. So I think it's just dead money for the last 2 months.
I know a thing or two about dead money, so
Yeah. Yes in chat says, where is it? Nvidia's going to 115. So we're doomed.
Ooh,
And
I would
that's
add
the end of that.
I would add a lot if that's the case. That would be great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if that happens, there's going to be a lot of great positions to pick up on. I mean, hopefully not just Nvidia. It's probably not going to fall on its own.
Yeah, and we won't have any money to pick up any of them. If if Nvidia's down to 115, I am completely tapped out by that point.
Wait, what are you saying? I can't go to you for a spot?
No.
Oh. Devis has been spotting us to pick up the purchases over the last mark. He doesn't want us to miss out on the rally, so he's allowing us to buy the dips on the way up.
did anybody buy anything this week?
Yeah.
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 Okay. Did anybody buy anything today?
Yeah.
Tried to
Yeah,
buy some
we got
Ethereum.
3 yeses on today, 4 yeses on this week. Would anybody care to say what they bought? Not how much, but what positions?
I bought 2 things today.
Okay.
You guys want to guess?
BMNR
Yep.
and
No, you probably won't be able to guess this one.
Nubank.
Ninja.
D local.
Mm. That's good.
Yeah.
I sold some cash secured puts on SoFi. I sold some cash secured puts on HIMS, and then I added to my BMNR spreads position. And those are my only 3 pickups for today.
Yeah, this week I bought some BMNR, just doing my willing strategy, and so I buy that amount, not really increasing the position other than what I get from selling options. And I added a little bit to PayPal on Monday, and it was a good run up, and now it's I think back to where it was on Monday. So
yeah.
Steve, did you buy anything?
I bought BMNR yesterday and I bought more BMNR today. And if it goes down on, I don't think the market's open on Monday. So if it goes down on Tuesday, I'll buy more on Tuesday.
It's open on Monday.
Oh,
You sure?
okay.
Isn't there a federal holiday on Monday?
From what I heard is that the banks are closed, the market is open.
Yep.
Okay, good.
And so that'll affect settlement times, and of course, if you have money coming in, which is annoying because I don't have a lot coming in on Monday, or should have come in on Monday. Now it's going to come in on Tuesday. I'm like, man, is this going to be one of those V-shaped things? Probably not. I don't think we'll really get back up to the all-time highs. It may take a month, to play out. But
A whole month, dude. I don't have time for that. What do you?
November 1st. I don't.
Well,
It is
today,
Canadian Thanksgiving on Monday.
Canadian
They
Thanksgiving.
don't close the market for that shit. Come on.
No, I'm sure our market will be closed. You think?
Yeah, probably ours, but who cares?
Yeah, not the U.S. market.
It's Temu Thanksgiving. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what it is.
So, did today really change anything for BMNR or Ethereum? I mean, Trump and Xi going tit for tat isn't changing stablecoin adoption. It's not changing tokenization. Tanner's shaking his head. Yes, it is changing it.
No, I agree with you so far.
It's not changing either of those things. So the long-term thesis is still intact. And I think this was a complete overreaction. We don't have enough information for the markets to do what it did. I mean, this was stop losses, in my opinion.
I mean, yeah, it's like everything sold off at once. Interestingly enough, I mean, maybe we can talk a little bit about this because today was the biggest single day liquidation of crypto in history. Like more than COVID, more than when FTX crashed, 9.4 billion in 24 hours.
And bigger than the Terra Luna crash.
And throughout all of that, it's like such an insignificant event. It's just a random tweet from Trump around potentially escalating tariffs. So like what caused this to be bigger than all of those events? Like, how is it so volatile that a relatively insignificant catalyst can make the number one liquidation more so than COVID even?
Margin, baby, leverage.
You think?
The one thing that the CEO of the Polygon Foundation ended up saying, he said, who is going to be the Three Arrow Capital this time? If you guys remember who that was previously, that actually put down BlockFi. If I'm not mistaken, the person that now works for SoFi, Flory, whatever her name is.
Yeah, her name's Flory. That's it. That's
Yeah. Which
Mark.
Flory? I've got 3 Flory friends.
Something.
But they had a large investor called 3AC or Three Arrow Capital that was spotting them a lot of money, and then they ended up being very leveraged in crypto. And then I think the Terra Luna crash happened, or FTX, I forget which one. And then they went under. BlockFi ended up going under. There's a whole big chain reaction. So essentially, they said there's going to be a Three Arrow Capital this time. We don't know who it is yet, but in the coming days, we're going to start seeing the forms come out of some sort of large fund that absolutely got wiped out. Do you think that that's what happened? Maybe a cascade of people in this new bull market that might have been way too leveraged?
Well, there was activity ahead of today. Like there was people shorting and putting puts on, and that was happening as early as like 7 a.m. You can see the prints. And so like the speculation is that, okay, people probably inside the administration or related, in that network, like got hints early that this was going to happen. Now that's just speculation on my part, but like people knew that today was going to be a really, really rough day even before, the tweets came out.
Roy?
I mean, yeah, it's usually it's algos, building on top of algos. There's people that for Ethereum, I mean, like honestly, you might think, oh, it's not up that much. People wouldn't take profits. We're actually up a lot, from in a relatively short amount of time. We're still above basically when Tom Lee was like, hey, Ethereum is legit, guys. I bought a lot of Ethereum at that point. Well, I had no Ethereum. I bought a chunk. I've added to it since then. I'm still up on that. So whenever something runs a whole bunch and then there's some weakness, then there's some people that were Johnny come latelys to actually taking profit. They're just like, hey, this can go up forever. And they're like, oh, I better lock in some of this. And then that triggers more sells and then stop losses and algos. And you get a bit of a capitulation, which is, I think, exactly what we've seen. Now, I love that we can frame this compared to other large liquidity events. So like if this was like the end of the world and United States and China are nuking the world, okay, yeah, it should go down a lot. Like it's done. But barring that, like, is this actually scarier than other liquidity events? Or if we look at the stock market, is the drop that we've had, which is nothing compared to like April 5th and the tariff stuff. But you look at the big spike, is like this between US and China is much smaller. It's still very important. It's not insignificant, but it's so much smaller than what we were facing back in April too. So we may pull back more. There's going to be probably a volatility roller coaster going pretty heavily into next week as well. But like ultimately, this isn't really that scary. It just the other factor too is we had been long for so long and up and to the right, and it tends to be people don't get disciplined in taking profits or hedging their position and their gains. But instead they're like, oh, it keeps going up. Well, I'll throw more money in. Okay, I'm out of money. Let me do margin. Okay, I'm out of margin. Let me switch from like BMNR to BMNU, things like that. Like I'll take on more. No, BMNU is not enough. Let me do far out of the money leaps in BMNU and consolidate. It's like at some point you realize like, and usually in these moments, you've taken on too much risk. But it's been too long since a pullback, and so it just exacerbated things. That's mostly what it is. Now, the reversal will also be violent, although I don't think nearly as violent as this, until we actually have that confirmation that things are settled between the US and China, not just talks back on or possibly back on, but actually settled.
Steve, what's going on with crypto? You buying this dip?
Yeah. I mean, if I bought BMNR today, I certainly bought the dip, and next week I plan on buying Ethereum.
So you don't think there's going to be no cascading effects from what happened today?
So 3 words that I say to Amit all the time. Do you know what they are?
I don't care.
Exactly. Because I don't care what happens next week. Because look,
Tanner was telling you he didn't care what your words were, so he just happened to.
Yeah, I mean,
no,
look,
I saw it.
If you are investing, you should have a long time horizon. If you're trading, you should worry about this stuff. But volatility creates opportunities. So if I can get Ethereum under 4,000 next week, I'm going to take that deal because ultimately I think it goes higher within my time frame. Now, I'm waiting for something to happen, and I want to get a little bit more information. I don't know which way this is going to go on Monday. It seems like the bleeding may have been curtailed a little bit after hours when Trump hinted that he still wants to meet with President Xi. Now, if we get some firestorm posts over the weekend, the bleeding may come back on. So I'm not going all in or using all the free capital in the account on one red day. Let's see what happens over several days. But we know over history that dips get bought. The middle of next week is the 15th. So you're going to have a lot of capital coming into the market because that's normally when people get paid. Money goes into their 401k accounts. So you're going to get a little bit of a backstop next week. And as far as crypto, nothing is changing the long-term adoption of this. And blips here, people were buying at 4,800 because they thought it was going higher. So getting it under 4,000, I think is a fairly good deal if you weren't in it already. That's just for me. I wasn't in Ethereum. I just started acquiring it. But this is when I look a year out and I look at the companies that are building on layer 2 for their stable coins. I look at what Vlad has been saying about tokenization and what O'Leary's saying. I think that there's going to be a lot of utilization that's going to burn off ETH. I think it'll be deflationary. I think it'll rise in price. The real question is what happened today with not being able to sell? Does that impact it further? And I don't know the answer to that because I don't really know the mechanics behind why people weren't able to exit their positions.
Yeah. You going to buy any company that benefits off this? Like you just brought up, for example, Hood. When do we get you into Hood? Steve? When are you
really cold winter?
So never.
Really cold winter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take that both ways. You're making a little clothing joke, but is a really cold crypto winter going to get you into Robinhood?
That's not what I said. I didn't say crypto winter. I said it was going to be a cold winter.
I said it was a clothing joke. I picked up your little pun.
So I don't know. I don't know. I want to see what happens next week. I'm not interested at these levels. At these levels, to me, is not worth it when I compare it against Interactive Brokers.
Oh, on that, I got out of my my covered calls that had run away. Not all my Hood position was underwater, but I had some at 141 and some at 140 that had just run away. I'm like, okay, great. And I did this time, I would have been okay otherwise, but I basically was like, okay, at this price, that's when I'm happy to just close it out, not rolling, not doing anything else, not waiting for it to fall under. Of course, it fell under, but I've learned in the past, like if I'm too greedy with those when they've already run, that's a huge mistake. So I was so happy to lose a little bit of money and just close them out and be done with them, even if we're going lower. So yay for me. That was one of the reasons why I was only down like 5-ish% is that. And then I had call options on SQQQ that went up 450%. So that was nice.
Look at Roy hedging.
It was tiny though. It's like such a small thing. So
I was so slammed today that I really didn't have a chance to look at things. I looked at it around 10 because I had calls on NVIDIA and BMNR. I'm like, oh, those NVIDIA, I have 195s. It went over. So I'm like, I'm going to have to make sure I look again later in the afternoon. I looked around 1:30 or 2. I'm like, oh, what the hell happened? But I didn't have time. And then at 3:50, I was like, oh, I think I'm safe.
So. Well, Friggin' SoFi had the run of its life. I mean, this company is just all over the place today. Almost breaking above $30 in the morning to closing out at 26.19 and then eventually falling to 25. Like, that is a huge swing in the day. Unbelievably massive.
Can I give a huge shout out to Tevis? Tevis, like when we were like right there, I don't remember what your exact words were on X, but it was something like, everybody's thanking it, nobody do it, thank me later, or something like that, regarding SoFi screenshots. And all four of us and data-driven investing, we all managed to avoid the temptation. And I have to say, I was so tempted, Tevis. Literally right before that moment, I took the screenshot and I'm like, nope, I'm not going to post it. I saw what Tevis put there. I'll flee from temptation. I'll avoid it. So thank you, Tevis.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Screenshot curse. It started with DDI, but now whenever for SoFi we post a screenshot, it's going to pull back at that point.
Bill Scott, appreciate you guys going live on days like this. Wow.
I think we should thank you for that. I think we should pull up a chart of the S&P or the NASDAQ over 5 or 10 years.
I hope SoFi will still have access to the rare metals that they need for the loan platform business.
We could talk about that too, that nothing today impacts SoFi.
Oh, man. I posted something similar about Lemonade. I said, breaking news, Lemonade, the Chinese insurance company is getting hit on Trump tariffs. And people were like, it's not Chinese, it's an American company. I'm like, you fucking idiot. Like, it's sarcasm, man. It's sarcasm.
Oh, speaking of, you guys want to see the post of the day? I know at least, well, he's not here. I know one of you saw this. This right here is one that everybody should appreciate. This is from Vadim. I hope SoFi will still have access to the rare materials, the rare metals that they need for the loan platform business.
Oh man, Roy.
Do you like that one, Roy?
So good. Yeah,
that was a great joke, Roy. That was a great one.
Am I going crazy right now?
Deja vu.
Oh, you posted that just a second ago?
I just showed that on the screen.
Yeah.
You realize
I just showed this.
Right?
I was not looking at the screen. I was just listening. So
I said it out loud verbatim.
All right. I'm sorry.
Oh, man.
I thought you were making the joke because I said Tevis did that a lot. And then that's so funny.
Oh, my God.
My apologies.
But in all seriousness, this does not impact SoFi one bit. We got earnings coming up when the 28th. I'm very excited for earnings. And Tanner and I talked about this last night. I got to agree with him. I did a little bit of research after him and I talked. He may be right. And if he's right,
dude,
Noto may take us to the promised land.
Devin Ryan just came out and he said, you know what? We thought a week ago that EPS was going to be 7 cents for the quarter. Now we think it's 12 cents. They increased it so much. Their revenue for this quarter is at $974 million. Like, that's like a 40% growth rate off of a really strong quarter last year.
What's their evidence, Tanner?
Loan platform business originations. They saw some good, I guess, channel checks. So,
wow.
The DocuSign thing, did you guys see that? That was really interesting.
What happened?
So whenever checking for traffic on SoFi, you can see where people came in from, but you can also see where they left to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I saw the DocuSign thing. It was like 3% or something.
Yeah, up 94%. So DocuSign is one that people have left SoFi to go to DocuSign.net, but that's because SoFi is sending them there to sign forms for personal loans, mortgages, student loans. And that was up 94% month over month.
Mm-hmm.
So either July was the worst stinking loan we've ever, or like month we've ever seen, which is not lining up to any data we're seeing, or, we're going to have a slamming quarter.
Yeah, it's by the way, this guy posted it, just to give credit, but yeah, that's
I thought you were honestly going to bring this up and go, and there was a DocuSign thing, and I thought you were going to just explain this like I didn't just talk about it.
I
But
should
yes,
have done that.
this was it.
I don't know, what the base is necessarily, but I mean that's a meaningful amount, and I mean there's only one reason why they're going to DocuSign. It's not like I'll see what's new there after going to SoFi. Like, no.
yeah, they're not checking up on their day on DocuSign.
Yeah,
but I thought that was important. They also had, like, Devin Ryan didn't just write about SoFi. He wrote about all of his names. They do that all in one go. They even names that you would be like really excited for. They put Blue Owl Capital as their top idea going forward with a 70% upside on Blue Owl Capital. They put a price target of $170 on Robinhood and said, we see the stock going to $400 to $500 over the next decade. Lots of good stuff. They also put like an insane, like they're modeling EPS for Q3 for Robinhood at 62 cents. The consensus is 49 cents for Robinhood. So they think I can't even get to where they are on Robinhood. And it's honestly hard for me to get to where they are on revenue for SoFi. So either Devin Ryan, one of the top analysts on Wall Street, is going to be wrong this time, or he's right and Fintech is about to have the best quarter we've ever seen, probably since covering these companies.
One of the things too with that big upgrade on the EPS target for SoFi, I don't remember. I think it was after the previous earnings, or maybe it was sometime in between. He was just new to SoFi, and they published a note something like, "These are great numbers. SoFi is doing good things. I'm new enough in the stock. I'm not going to raise it yet." Phrased a lot more professionally, but I think that's part of the factor too.
Okay, let's quickly cover this really quick. Onita says, I converted my BMNR to BMNU today.
Is that the 2x leverage one? What is that
That's
one?
2x leverage, yeah.
I mean, it's not. I think like the worst thing about the leverage things is that they'll go down more. It's harder for them to go up. Like on red days, it goes down more, but I forget there's a term for that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'll play leveraged for small instances. I think not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. But it looks like they converted just by the way that they said it, converted their whole position.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been comfortable doing that. If it's a small bet, that's one thing. Well, of course, their whole position might be, $1,000 that they can afford to lose. So I don't know the situation, but for me, I would not be comfortable doing that. Even if we were in an uptrend, this still didn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah, there will be decay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I'm sort of torn. Like, instead of the 2x leverage, I'd rather just buy options. I actually saw when I was adding to my BMNR spreads today, the 2028 chain is out. I don't know how long it's been out for, but that was actually really interesting because mine go as far as Jan 27, but there's Jan 28s that are out currently. And that could be really interesting because it's not as volatile.
What spread did you buy?
Well, the spreads that I have 70 100s for Jan 27. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just on the BMNU thing. I'm not comfortable with, or no, I shouldn't say that. That's the wrong wording. I don't think that Ethereum will stay below 4,000 for long periods of time. I might have waited till Monday to do that, to see what shakes out over the weekend. Because Trump and Xi can definitely escalate these situations. But the liquidation that did just happen, I don't think we're going to see a spike in volatility like that for a little bit. I think that definitely shook out the top margin and some of the paper hands that were there. So I don't think it gets too much worse than where it already is. I mean, what truly is affected in a trade war for crypto? If anything, it probably strengthens it, weirdly. But yeah, there will be a lot of unknowns, and you won't be able to get out of that position until Monday. So that's the only problem.
It's going to be, I think it's just going to be tense until November 1st. But like Trump walked it. So I think the positive thing, because I had a friend, you know, and he was like, oh man, I'm so frustrated with Trump. And I'm like, dude, this is what he does. Like he will manipulate the market, whether willingly or you know, just as a result of his tweets, but he'll walk it back. And the thing with Trump is like, he cares about the market. He brags that the market is at highs. So I think that like the taco thing plays out whether we like it or not, because that's just what we've seen play out over the past year consistently with tariffs. Like he'll throw out some outrageous number, then walk it back. And it's not great if you're, you know, buying short dated call options, but if you're selling options, it's pretty good, right? Because you get more volatility like that. And we were due for a pullback. So I think like it makes me much more at ease that we have one, even if it continues on Monday or Tuesday. And it will likely continue because the markets are going to be in a place of uncertainty until November 1st. But ultimately, I do think it gets walked back.
Oh, keep in mind, the last time that this happened was April.
Mhm.
And he had another 8 or 9 months, depending on what day he did. I don't remember the exact day. He had a long time to correct the situation. It's the middle of November, more or less, right now. He doesn't have a lot of time. I don't think he wants to, A, not have a up S&P this year for 2025, first year of his second term. And then B, you have the midterms in 2026. The last thing that he wants is uncertainty and an economy that is not thriving, because he does not want the Republican Party to give up control of the House and the Senate. So I do think this is all going to get worked out over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Well, today was a Biden market day, though, not the Trump market day. So no, I'm just kidding. This related was interesting, and I mean, there's no guarantees, and people can just get lucky. But this was not a small bet, and somebody opening an account today and shorting Bitcoin, which is not something that somebody that's brand new would do. It's, we always say, or, there's always people that say somebody knew something, and that's not always the case. Sometimes it just happens. But this is one of those that it smells a little bit fishy to me, that somebody closely connected knew that there was going to be a mention or announcement related to this happening relatively soon. They may not know the exact timing. Very, very fishy. But what do you guys think?
That is 1,000% somebody that knew something because of the size of that trade and the direction of it.
And this was only one. This is not actually what I read. I read that they did this across Ethereum and other plays as well, and made out with hundreds of millions. And it wasn't just placed 30 minutes before. They placed it in the morning, and then they doubled down 30 minutes. That was what my understanding was.
I hope they get caught.
But
They won't.
They won't.
Probably not. No. It's just annoying. It's horrible, honestly, this sort of thing. This is why, a lot of people come. The most damaging thing is not somebody making a bunch of money that they don't deserve. It's that it can convey the understanding that the markets are rigged, and they're slightly rigged, but somebody can come away from a day like today and see what their portfolio is and be like, the markets are rigged. This is a rigged game. The house always wins, and I'm not the house, so I'm getting out. And then they no longer invest, period. That's a colossal cataclysmic mistake that's exacerbated by things like this. And so, man, it makes me sick.
Do you think the meeting with Xi is going to go over well, or that he will even meet with Xi?
That's the question. I think that we'll probably have some on again, off again stuff over the next 2 weeks. I think China, from what I understood, and I don't understand a whole lot, so I'm not an expert here, but from what I understood, China had not taken seriously the talks, that they wanted basically all the cookies and they didn't want to share any of it, which was not going to happen. And I think they bought into the taco theory too. So if that's the case and they still want to play hardball all the way through this, we could have more turmoil, nothing like what's happening back in April. But I still think that they'll probably meet at some point, because honestly, like, this is both the United States and China have much more to lose by not coming to agreement than they do with giving up something that perhaps they don't want to give up with. So we'll have to see, but I'm guessing that they meet, and the most likely outcome of that is that they kick the can down the road. They say, well, we had productive talks. There's still more to figure out, and so we'll revisit this and put a deadline on there for like 6 months out or something, next year sometime.
Look, the last thing that we want is for this to escalate, because if it does, that is very bad for chip stocks, very bad for AI development, and it's just bad overall for the global macroeconomic economy. So I don't think that they're going to play chicken to the point where they actually collide, because that would be a no-win situation for anyone.
It looks like potentially there was much more. They had BTC shorts, Ethereum shorts, all on Hyperliquid. And this person suggests that maybe there was also some centralized exchange action as well. However, that's not verified, and states that this person probably had a huge role in what happened today.
Well, does anybody know why there are reports that people couldn't sell?
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. By the way, $1.65 trillion left the stock market today. 1.65 trillion.
That's wild.
That's American dollars.
Yeah.
It's like the entire GDP of Canada when you put it that way.
No.
So what's
Only
everybody
like
looking at for next week?
Only on like a semi-annual basis or something.
What's the question?
Yeah, my guess is, Trump came in and just said a few words like that they're still thinking about meeting. That kind of stabilized things after hours. It went back up, not all the way flush. Some names did close green at my time 7 p.m. When the after hours was no longer open. If nothing else changes, that might be enough to actually have a pretty good pop on Monday. Maybe not. Like, we'll see. Like, one of the tough things is with a drawdown this big, a lot of larger funds and a lot of individuals adopt what's called the rule of 3 days, or the 3-day rule, so that they'll actually, after a major capitulation event, they'll actually wait for things to stabilize, or at least 3 days. So barring any further announcement, if we get nothing else, I don't know. But I'm guessing we get a big pop and rally, and then it fades off. Now, if we get a big capitulation event, something else happens, the market always likes to overdo it. So it wouldn't shock me if we just see the bottom drop out and it just people going crazy, and then recovery, maybe not all the way up through the end of the day. Anyone's guess so. But whatever it opens up with, in the first 30 minutes, probably fade that through the day. If I was a day trader, at least that's what I would be doing. One
thing I think that today crystallized for me, and I've been talking a little bit about it on our previous streams, Roy, over the past month or so, and today was sort of the first shoe to drop in terms of a pullback, is I really, on any pops that we get this upcoming week, I just want to let go of all of my leaps. Because I want to be able to roll them into the underlying stock, so I don't have the theta decay working against me. And like, that's just it's not a hedge, but it's just a risk measure that I want to take on, because I have leaps for like the MNR, I have leaps for Nebius, I have leaps for SoFi, I have leaps for HIMS, I have leaps for a whole bunch of other stuff. And so it's just, I want to delever a little bit from the options, because we're getting to that point where, like, if a single tweet from Trump on a random Friday, which he's done we haven't really had a shock like this since April, right? We had minor blips in the summer, but nothing that was to this degree. And to me, what that signals is like, yeah, the market can bounce back from this, but I don't know. It's just, it's like you have your first heart attack, you know, it's like, oh shit, it's a health risk. And you kind of like want to get everything checked up and live a little bit more of a healthier life. And like, that's what this was, whereby like I deployed capital. I did cash secured puts. I took advantage of the dip, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, I don't really want to have the long, like I want to be selling options and not necessarily buying a lot of options right now.
Yeah.
But yet buying a lot of options.
But I also bought spreads today. So
Yeah.
And you sold puts pretty aggressively too there. So
What were you selling puts at?
what's that?
What were you selling puts at?
Um,
Oh wow,
he's
You
already
were
underwater.
again.
I sold some aggressive SoFi puts, but so I don't know, man. I looked at a couple of different positions and I was like, I feel much more comfortable selling much more aggressively on SoFi with earnings coming up, like a month out or 3 weeks out, than I do selling at something else at like a 15 or a 20 delta.
What was the strike and what was the? I want the numbers. What was
Yeah.
the
I don't know
strike?
why we're not getting numbers here.
Why are we not giving the people what they want? What was the
I-
strike and what was the expiration date?
Tevis is a little embarrassed because he finds fairly safe strategies and he's like, how can I make it way more degenerate? And he does that.
I
What, like
sold-
29?
I sold I sold 20 puts for SoFi at $27 for October 31st. So I have a break even of $25 for October 31st, and we'll see what happens. But like the way
That's
I
not
figured,
as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah,
the way
that's
I
not
figured-
that bad.
exactly the way I
Pretty
figured
aggressive,
it was
really.
like if I end up owning, another 2,000 SoFi shares at $25, is it the worst thing in the world? Like I've been holding this thing through thick and thin, and I'm really confident in the man. But like if I wrote it on something else that I'm less confident in, and I actually got assigned the shares, I would feel more nervous than actually holding SoFi, which is like 25% of my portfolio.
But what do we think the Fed's going to do at the end of the month now?
Cut.
Well, yeah, they'll cut. The government shut down. They pretty much have no choice just to stay the course. There's not more data that's coming out.
It's like a
They have
97% chance right now.
Yeah, and the shutdown doesn't make things better for the labor market. It doesn't. One of those things, by the way, if you don't mind putting this up, Tanner, that I thought was really interesting about the day. This right here, I grabbed on Webull, just a quick screenshot when I saw the news. A little bit of capitulation there, small dip, and I'm like, that okay. I don't know if we're going to recover or fall down a little bit, but a lot of times when you see Trump tweet something like it's a massive overreaction and then it kind of recovers through the day. Instead, this time it was, relatively small dips. These weren't like crazy at all. And then it just kept on going and going and going and going, and nobody was buying, at least not meaningfully. Even Tevis was selling cash secured puts.
Somebody's not going to know how they work, and they're going to be like, "Oh, you're shorting the market."
Yeah, let's just say don't do what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not what I do. That's
Don't do what Tevis does.
For sure, don't do that.
not financial advice. It just I don't know. It's crazy that one person can have like an outsized, like such a crazy outsized level of influence. Like I'm just waiting for the next tweet for him to be like, buy stocks. That's going to be all margin, all in.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? This is why I was talking with Steve about this yesterday. If you look at the Chinese tech stocks, Baidu, Baba, Tencent, they look extremely cheap. Extremely. I mean, if you're looking at them like American tech companies, they look better than Google whenever Google was, trading at 160, 150.
Where were you when Baba was at 110?
Right. But
you can go to my stuff. I was saying that it's undervalued.
yeah, but here's the thing. It's the same. I wouldn't have touched it at 110. And the reason is that this exact thing, Trump, if he wants to escalate this, he has so many tools at his disposal. And one of them is making it very hard for Chinese companies to get equity from American investors.
And you're going the wrong direction. The real card that he can play is energy. Because if let's just say that this is true, that they threatened the whole rare earth thing against the entire world, all he has to do is get on board with everybody, bring Russia into the fold, and cut off energy to them. They don't have enough to support their economy as it is. So
and he
that will be the final card that he plays.
And he has a lever to do that. I wouldn't love this, but there's those negotiations between Ukraine and Russia, and he can just heavily weigh on the Russian side and say, hey, we'll favor you very much in the peace agreements and bring Ukraine to the table to agree to these terms that they shouldn't be agreeing to if you back us against China related to the energy stuff. And that really could be a scenario that plays out. I hope it doesn't. That would not be right. But
I don't want to see that happen, but don't forget, there is a chance that Siberia has a ridiculous treasure trove of rare earths the same way as China, if not more.
Okay.
I hope,
and then what are you going to do to extract all those?
That's the question.
Invest. But like it's that puts things into a very scary situation. Kind of like removing the access to NVIDIA processors and ultimately energy as well. I mean, that's what kicked off the invasion of Pearl Harbor with Japan. It wasn't justified, but they're like, hey, it's now or never. And that could be the event that actually capitulates or makes China say, you know what, it's now or never. Let's take Taiwan.
No, let's not. Let's hope that none of this ever happens.
I hope not.
Because we have way bigger problems if that happens.
Yeah. Let's divert the conversation away from that, though.
You want to do SoFi?
No, I'm down to talk about.
You know what I want to talk about? Actually, hold on. Prediction markets. Kalshi going global. I think that's going to be a really interesting topic.
So they just raised however much,
300 mil,
5 billion valuation.
Yeah,
that is super interesting.
From like the big, like the most popular like firms in the world too.
Yeah.
Like it's just, I don't know, it's really cool. And then Robinhood is talking about like all this tokenization in Europe, and then their predictions, betting markets is going wild. It's just crazy, man. I was talking to somebody earlier today about DraftKings, and like I've become so freaking bearish. And like me and Roy were talking about this on the bootleg. I've just become so bearish on DraftKings because like I just don't see a world where DraftKings and FanDuel and any of these companies have a superior offering than what betting markets allow you to do, like predictions markets. I mean,
but what I don't understand is why doesn't DraftKings try to create their own betting market? It's just because it would be margin killing for them.
Yeah, I figured they get a bigger spread doing it the way they are.
Yeah.
They and FanDuel's have both talked about getting a prediction market because they see like, okay, yeah, we're getting destroyed here. But it's kind of the same reason why Google was really late initially to their AI rush, and then they rushed out Bard at the time was what it's called. And it was a disaster, is because they saw it as something that would disrupt themselves, that maybe it'd all work out in the end. But they're like, you know what? Why disrupt a good thing? We're not going to do it. So that's why they're late to the party.
Have you guys read through this?
No.
I heard you cover it.
To you? I thought I did.
Can you please?
Yeah, I'll send you. It's in my last DraftKings article from last month. I'll send it to you. So
okay. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So Tanner, you can stop sharing. So basically, in the big beautiful bill, they slipped in a gambling provision in the IRS code. And before, you could deduct 100% of your losses against your wins. Now you can only deduct 90%. So if you're betting on football and you're betting on basketball and you're betting on sports throughout the year, let's just say you put $1,000 in your account at the beginning of the year. You keep going all throughout the year and you churn it over and you have, let's just say like 1,500 or 2,000 individual bets, and it amounts to $100,000 worth of wins and $100,000 worth of losses on a net basis. You can only deduct 90,000 from the 100,000. So even if you didn't make any money, you still have a phantom gain of $10,000 that you will have to pay tax on. This goes into effect January 2026. If this does not get repealed, because I was very interested in starting a position in DraftKings. When I read this, I was like, there's no way I'm touching it because this is going to have serious implications for sports books and casinos in 2026 because it's going to hurt professional gamblers and it may cause recreational gamblers to not go to the casino as much. And it could cause people to divert away from sports books because if you have, I mean, Tevis, you partake a little bit. If you were in the US and you had to pay a phantom tax, is it even worth it anymore? And I don't know that prediction markets is considered this side of it. Is it, Roy? You're shaking your head.
I was going to actually ask you. My guess is that it's not. It's been treated very differently by the CFTB. I think I got that wrong. So we'll have to actually see, but I would be surprised if it was treated the same way.
Yeah, I actually did one prediction market thing just so when I get the 1099 at the end of the year so I can see how it's classified because I want to know if it is not classified in that way and it gets classified as capital gains or capital loss on short term, then DraftKings is screwed.
Dude, DraftKings is down 23% in the past 2 weeks. Is this because of the prediction markets stuff?
It's got to be the prediction market. It started with this, and then the prediction market on Robinhood took it down further.
Wow.
And there's been further updates too. This Vlad came out with this, and he did it on the wrong platform, iOS first. But they basically allow on the crypto button, you can toggle between crypto to earnings to prediction markets. And it's just, I've not seen it.
Hold on. So Beer and Chicken said prediction markets are sweepstakes, so taxed at the same as gambling earnings.
Interesting. Huh.
Interesting. I'm going to look into that and see. Interesting.
But yeah, this is like they started maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, just barely starting advertising for the predictions market stuff. I'd never seen them do that before. A few people shared screenshots. They've been talking along with Kalshi about going international. Now that Kalshi has, which is their partner, maybe they'll wait. I'll be a little bit surprised, but they have the Robinhood wallet that they can. I don't see any reason technologically why they couldn't launch along with Kalshi all over Europe where they're already at, in the United Kingdom as well. Ultimately, like they have some licenses in UAE. They're working on it in Singapore as well. So they could be going global along with Kalshi. What's really interesting about that is if you look at Europe in particular, and then to the lesser extent the UK, but it certainly applies there, those cultures are more betting cultures than they are investing cultures, just the way that they're structured right now. Singapore, I don't think that's the case. In UAE, I don't think that's the case. So they may actually have easier inroads with a product like this, with a name that people recognize. And it could be, and hopefully it will be, one of these flywheel effects where somebody comes over just for the predictions market and they end up staying for the investing. Not sure that that'll ever happen, but if it does, that's how it does.
Have you used the Robinhood prediction market yet?
Yes.
I do have to say, I like the interface so much better. I like seeing the live data about how many contracts are being bought on each side. It's really, I mean, obviously you can figure it out by a point spread about how everything is moving, but it's just nice to visualize it in that app. I think they did a very good job, and I've given Robinhood a lot of credit for what they've done with their app.
Yeah, I ended up, so I tried it out for a couple of economic type events, the rate cut predictions and a couple others on very small scale. When the user interface wasn't that great, they've improved a lot, especially on the sports side. And I'm like, you know what? I own the product. I might as well use it a couple of times. And so I did. Actually ended up winning a little bit of money, which was nice. But they were smaller bets. So, but like it's like anything else that Robinhood does. If it's not a white label product, like that UI is just slick. And honestly, I've not used Kalshi at all, but it looks like a better UI, and the money is already there. So even though it's backed by Kalshi,
guys, let's change this topic. I'm bored out of my goddamn mind. I don't care about UI and UX. What is going on with, like, let's talk some markets here. Holy. Let's talk about Q3. Is this going to be a blowout for earnings or what?
Yes.
So if that's going to be the case, and the consensus is, domination across Mag 7s, how long does this sell off, this Trump worry happen for?
I mean,
Dude, I think it's going to be over by Tuesday, honestly. Like,
no, I agree.
not
but
but like stabilized and on the way back up.
I mean, think about it like this. Q3 ended at the end of September. Nothing that happened today impacts anything from Q3. And think about all the deals that we've seen happen and all the announcements that we've seen. There's no way, at least from the data that I'm seeing, that we don't get beats. I wouldn't say that for Tesla, but I mean, I think Meta beats, I think Amazon beats, I think Apple beats, Microsoft. I think the spectacular sixes, I'm calling it, will beat. I don't know about Tesla, but spectacular six are going to beat. And I think that they're going to raise guidance. And as long as this doesn't really escalate, I think Q4 is going to be even better. I really do. I'm not worried because these companies are in a prisoner's dilemma. I mean, we went through it last night, Tanner.
Well,
I like that, Rob. Mag 7, we had Broadcom kick Tesla out. I like that.
yeah, you want to have Broadcom or AMD in the Mag 7.
Broadcom.
Well, so
Broadcom.
here's the thing, Steve. Like, I'm just wondering, to what degree, with regards to guidance, will the rate cut scenario play a role? Because if there's different expectations around how many rate cuts we can expect as a result of all these things that are happening, then I wonder if management teams are going to have a more like dovish view of the economy and raise their guidance or be more conservative and just, not do anything.
You know what rate cuts are likely to do? Increase demand for freaking data centers and for cloud computing and AI.
Well, they increase demand for everything. So
Right. But even further, and we know that there's constraints with data centers through the middle of 2026 right now.
I mean, I think if anything, the data centers are the least affected because the demand for data centers is already so high. It's like if rate cuts were zero, it's not like it would drastically change the picture. It's already like, capped.
I think that's, well, I don't know if it's capped, but I think that's a true statement as well, is that people are willing to pay whatever price.
Mhm.
They
It's
are,
not gonna
but
make it
this is going to speed up the rate of adoption.
No, I get what you're saying, but like, whenever you're talking about like what sector benefits, like rate cuts could double SoFi's earnings. A rate cut is going to make a fraction of the difference of the total build out of a data center.
Yeah.
Like they don't even care. They're playing at 30x for every dollar that they spend, Jensen thinks you can get 8 to 10x that in revenue from the token generation from the hypercloud providers. So yeah, I don't think they're worrying about a quarter point cut.
The sleeper is going to be energy. It's just what portion of the value chain is the one. And what I don't understand is how can a company like Oklo get the valuation it gets and Southern Company not move a tick and they actually have 7 nuclear reactors online?
It was up big today too.
Doesn't make any sense.
Is all the data center plays and AI names already priced in?
No, man. If OpenAI is doing these deals and you're seeing Oracle jump like 20+% on any given day, then of course it's not priced in.
Yeah. Do you think we have more of those types of deals to go?
Yeah.
I mean, that's one really interesting thing, right?
Dude,
Is that
I'm
Oracle,
the OpenAI Nebius deal for me to see some profits over here.
Look, remember,
it's probably coming.
Microsoft came out about 3 or 4 weeks ago with a big announcement that they're doing a second data center in Wisconsin for $4 billion. They said it's going to be the most advanced. They just made the release yesterday about all the deployment of the Blackwell chips, the GB300s. And you're in a position where OpenAI just did a deal with AMD to take chips off of the market second half of 2026. And they are now going to be buying directly from NVIDIA instead of going fully third party. They're still going to go third party, but they're also going to own and operate their own data centers. So now, and Tanner's going to love this. I mean, I think I said it yesterday, but Meta, Amazon, and Alphabet have to come over the top, because if they don't, they're going to get left behind. And there is no way Andy Jassy is not going to say something big on the earnings call regarding this, because that's what had Amazon's stock flatline after last quarter earnings, because everybody was upset that AWS didn't perform the way that everybody wanted it to. And with these deals being announced and us not hearing anything except Zuckerberg say that he'd rather lose a couple $100 billion than underinvest, I mean, that tells me that we are in such early innings. I don't even think it's at 96. What year do I think it is, Tanner?
89.
There you go.
Wow, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Steve,
Which is the most 1999 thing he's ever said.
We
Steve.
haven't even hit robotics and full self-driving with the compute you're going to need for that, let alone AGI. The inference is going to be crazy.
Steve, there's only 2 Mag 7 stocks that are down year to date. Which are they?
Tesla and
Amazon.
Apple and Amazon. But yeah, Amazon
Apple's not down for the year. There's no way.
Down 2%.
Or maybe after today it is.
Yeah. And Tesla's only up 2% anyways. But the crazy thing is that Amazon's down year to date. Like, I mean, it's up like 40%.
And
since
Amazon's got
but
so much potential that nobody's talking about, because nobody's thinking about Amazon as what's going to happen when they deploy AI and robotics within their operations.
Well, they're doing it right now.
And they unlock, because they're only operating at 11 or 12% margin. So how much margin can they unlock through efficiencies? They actually may be able to get to 15, 20%.
Why is AWS underperforming? Or maybe that's an after hours thing.
I mean, look, a lot of people are really liking Google Cloud, and a lot of people are adding to Azure. And here's one of the things. What does Amazon not have that Microsoft and Alphabet have?
High quality data centers.
No, seriously, Roy, what does Amazon not have that those two have?
Well, no, I think that Tanner's actually right. Like, if you actually look at most of the metrics, they're not as compelling right now.
Go a step further. Regardless of what that
the answer I wanted.
I can't go through chips and all that, because I don't know what's in those. They don't have the software on top of it. So if you're going to go with AWS, that's all you're going with. You still have to go with either Google or Microsoft for their actual Office suite and everything else. So if you're already a Microsoft customer, or you're already an Alphabet customer for your stack of software, most likely you're going to talk to your rep and go with them for the cloud offering for Azure or Google Cloud. It's not likely you're going to mix and match, because you already have a relationship with that company, and they're probably going to give you a sweetheart deal with the money you're paying for all the licenses. So that's where Amazon lacks compared to the other two.
Well, you know what? The good thing is that those small companies are not making too big of a difference. They need to partner with a massive AI company, and Amazon has an extremely close relationship with Anthropic. That's their saving grace.
Yeah, they should have bought Anthropic, is what they should have.
They should have, but they didn't. And from what I heard from Anthropic is that they want essentially nothing to do with Amazon's Trainium chips, and that they want to use NVIDIA chips. And so they're back to buying NVIDIA products. In fact, you know what's so crazy about that? Did you guys read the most recent deal with NVIDIA and XAI, the $2 billion deal? $12.5 billion of that was debt. Did you read the structure of that debt? It was specifically around giving this money if they bought NVIDIA chips with it. The money was not for any other purpose. It specifically said NVIDIA.
How about NVIDIA is becoming the new, I don't want to say Berkshire, but they're becoming a holding company of companies. And it's only going to become more.
But that's what I've been saying that for years. That's what happens whenever you have too much money.
Use their cash. I mean, I love it. What they're doing.
They have too much.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have.
They're in a great situation.
Yeah, they're just like, again, thank you, Tanner. But it's such a good company to be in. They're so well positioned. Like whatever happens with China, it's like they'll be fine. And they're in so many other players too. Like, does it really matter if OpenAI dominates or Gemini does? It's like it doesn't matter. They're
what
positioned.
I really like right now? I think Taiwan Semi is going to continue to do well, like really well.
The only thing in the back of my mind is what I mentioned before on the geopolitics stuff. That if the United States plays hardball with China, it could cause them to do something stupid. But
yeah, but then what? But then what happens to Nvidia?
Yeah, you're in the same boat with all the companies. I mean,
yeah.
The real thing is, do we think Intel is going to continue? I mean, Intel's already popped. I mean, it's up 60. I didn't see where it finished today, but before today, it was up 60, 70% in the past 2 months.
I don't know why you would buy, and maybe I'm not that, in the weeds around their product offerings, but just from my opinion, like, why would you buy Intel when you can buy Nvidia? Like, the U.S. government propped them up, and sure, they got an investment as well.
Have you looked at the new EPS estimates for Intel?
Dude, I look at top line. Fuck EPS can be manipulated by the company. Like, I don't know, man. Like, whenever I'm doing I'm doing forecasting and budgeting for the year right now for my company, and it's like my CEO wants revenue and EPS. You know which one's a hard one to get? Revenue, because EPS you can.
This is a growth at all cost investor.
He is, but keep in mind, Intel is only expected to do 12 cents this year. They're expected to do $1.15 in 2027.
How are they going to get that difference, though?
There's 37 analysts have them growing at 430% EPS next year.
But yeah, that's great, Steve. But like 37 analysts had SoFi at $11 for 2026. Like,
all I'm saying is that Intel has become a very strategic company for the U.S.
Right.
They're going to stop it. No, they're not going to allow this to fail.
Agreed.
With boundaries.
Agreed.
And they want to augment.
I agree with you. Now, answer me one thing.
Yep.
Does Intel have a superior or an inferior product to NVIDIA? And new products that Intel rolls out, will they be superior or inferior? So when you're looking at it from that lens, like,
but you're just talking about GPUs, because NVIDIA is not playing in the server.
Yeah, they're not really in the same space.
They're not in the same space. Intel's not a competitor on GPUs.
Sure. But
the real question is, can they continue to compete with AMD?
Yeah.
Can they?
Probably.
Hold on. I'll bring up the
Intel.
I mean, like, so the one thing beyond, the basically forced investment and United States doing what they did with, NVIDIA did sign an agreement to actually build some on their x86 architecture, which is, I don't know if they've ever done that, Tanner. If they have, it's been a long, long time. So that's good for Intel. That's part of where their revenue is coming from. But I mean, still, they're not using their foundry as far as I can tell. So they managed to do less with so much. It's just shocking.
So this is Intel versus AMD. Intel is blue, AMD is red. So all CPUs, they're still ahead, but it's tightening. They are no longer in the lead on desktops. AMD crossed over again. Laptop, Intel is still the head. And servers, Intel is still dominant. They have 84% of the market. So right now, the statistics are showing, oh, look at that. Look at the freaking pop-up that comes up with the Pokemon.
All right.
But the data is showing that Intel still has a superior lead over AMD.
Yeah, but it's the sort of change in those rates, right? It's not like people are looking at ChatGPT and Google and thinking ChatGPT is winning. But once those start to bring down, which is what is happening, AMD is putting up a really, really good CPU or sort of front, I guess I wanted to say. But
the market is forward-looking, and the market buys the trend, betting the trend will continue. And in that sense, Intel might be the dominant player right now, but they have an inferior product offering. and the market is like just looking at the charts and the trend lines and extrapolating outwards. Like they won't be the dominant player in the next decade unless something drastically changes in terms of their product innovation.
But what about NVIDIA's investment into them?
What about it?
You don't think that they're gonna work
You want me to
together or
buy?
anything?
You want me to buy Intel stock because Nvidia invested what? Like
Not
you
what
know,
I'm saying. I'm
$5 billion.
asking if you think they're going to work together.
sure.
Some, but like they're still not going to use their foundry. I think really Intel is either a trade, which it may work out really well, or if you're holding it like longer term, you're basically betting on something that happened to Taiwan.
And I think they did that with with Intel as like a good faith act for the Trump administration, because the Trump administration backed it, and then Jensen's getting everything he wants from Trump. So he's like, you know what? We'll actually give your little investment here our stamp of approval. And so Jensen once again is playing 3D chess. And
Yeah, Tanner, bring up what Black Mamba said at 10:10. NVIDIA changes this. So in his talk on CNBC, he was talking about the server stack. Do we think that NVIDIA is really going to change the game with server chips? Or is that proprietary to their systems?
honestly, I'm not sure. I don't follow it that closely. I'm mainly focused on what they're doing with just their main Blackwell and Vera Rubin chips. The exterior stuff, I just trust that Jensen knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, the company that I was looking at, I need to do a little bit more work on. It's Qualcomm. I don't know. ARM, people try to get me to research. I don't see the appeal of ARM, but Qualcomm's interesting.
Yeah, I don't follow it nearly enough, or nearly close enough, I should say.
And we all missed the boat on freaking Broadcom. I don't think any of us own it.
Tevis did.
You know what? I'm still thinking about getting into it. Like, if
not
you
a bad
believe
play.
in Hawk Tan's freaking PSUs, then there's still a long way to go.
I mean, the growth, wow. The growth on Broadcom, I didn't even really
They're taking
realize.
market share.
Look at this. Well, we'll go top line because Tevis doesn't like bottom line. So
Okay, but Tevis does like bottom line. It was just a bad comment.
23%.
He was making a point.
23% next year or this year, 33% year over year, and then 25%. I mean, and this is not a select little group. These are big groups of analysts. That's a ton of growth. And then on EPS, I mean, I don't even know if you can consider that expensive considering how much growth that they have. And if the rate of return on data centers is what we think it's going to be, Broadcom's really interesting.
Yeah. Also, I love whenever people say that NVIDIA is power hungry and AMD is more power efficient. It's just completely incorrect. I'm sorry, but yeah.
I mean,
it's performance per watt. That's the important part. If, you know, NVIDIA was power hungry, then they would have a worse performance per watt. They're not power hungry. They're the most efficient chip, and it's because they can also stack 72 chips into one chip, and it acts as one chip. And so the actual performance that they can put out is much higher than AMD. This is why Jensen said that he could give away, or his competitors could give away their chips for free, and people would still pay for NVIDIA's.
Absolutely true.
it's pretty wild.
Okay, we want to go into after hours?
It's pretty wild.
Ladies and gentlemen, catch us in the after hours show. This will be posted tomorrow for members only in any of the chats that you are in. Thank you all so much for watching. Really do appreciate your time. Bye-bye for now.
Have a good night.